Okay, just before we get started, just curious when the body camera footage will be available to me from January 5th.
So that depends on whether the complaints are sustained or not, because there's a state law that I can send you that talks about when those are available, and it depends on the outcome of complaints that you file. So I don't have a date for you yet.
Yeah, so I'm confused about that because they're public records. There shouldn't be any issue other than me just filling out a request form and getting them. Why would they be withheld for any reason?
I can send you the statute. I'll email that to you.
Okay, that's fine. But I'm just asking because you're the town attorney, so you should be able to answer this for me, just so I know. What is the reason? Why would there be any reason not to release this to me?
It's based on a statute that's the Codified Public Records Act, and I can send you the citation separately. I don't have it memorized.
Okay, I'm just confused why there would even be an issue not to just release it to me. Why are they hiding it? Why is it such a secretive thing? Why can't they just public record? If they didn't do anything wrong, why is it just not released to me? There's videos that get released all the time, every day, of police doing the same thing that your officers did. Why am I being not able to get my records when they're able to?
It's governed by the Public Records Act, and I can send you the statute separately. Did you want to spend time on the complaints today?
I want to spend time on everything because this has gone on for almost 6 months now.
Okay, so I have set aside this time to go over the 2 complaints that you wanted to file.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, so
have you, just so, I mean, I know that you've done your homework, have you watched the body camera footage so you know that what we're talking about?
I have not watched it, no.
I think that's kind of important that you should watch it before we even make so there's no insinuations like what's been going on from before. I think it's important that you do watch it before we talk about this. Why wouldn't you? I'm just curious why you wouldn't immediately watch that video yourself so you know what we're talking about. Doesn't that make sense to you?
Yeah, there's about 20 things I would like to do, right? And so I'm working my way down the list. I've been here for 14 days.
I understand that, but we're making the phone call now and you've had plenty of time because I gave you plenty of time. We spoke, a week ago? I didn't, I waited. I gave you time to settle in. And now that you've made the time...
Do you want to work on the complaints right now?
I absolutely do.
Or not? Okay. So can you tell me your mailing address? All right. And so the first incident is the March 17th. Is that correct? Is that the bicycle incident?
Well, I mean, the first one would be January 5th. And the bicycle incident was in March, yes, on St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, I was thinking about the days that I had listed in my email to you. So should we talk about the January 5th one first?
Yeah, just to go, we'll start there since.
Okay. So about what time did that one occur?
Roughly 9 o'clock a.m.
Okay.
Roughly.
And where did that take place?
In the back of the apartment building.
Do you have an address?
Of the address I just gave you? For my...
Okay. And the involved officers are Howard, Hoyt, and Fleming?
Ultimately, but I mean, I was just starting from where the whole incident started. So, but that was all that happened in the front of the apartment building with the officers.
And then, the form that I'm filling out asks what their badge numbers are. Do you have that information or not? Because I don't mind putting
I don't
not
have the
available.
badge numbers, and one of them refused, going as far as putting his hand over his name badge and turning away from me. The one that started the whole thing, that I tried to get his badge number, or his name and badge number, he immediately put his hand over his name tag and turned away from me and walked away. He went from trying to arrest me to putting his hand over his name tag and walking away from me in a split second.
And then, are there any witnesses to the January 5th incident?
At least a few medical responders, 2 social workers, and probably 4 or 5, at least, police officers. All were there within speaking distance.
So do you have names or contact information?
I only have Howard and Hoyt because I spoke to Howard and I knew who Hoyt was from his prior incompetence. Fleming, I never got his name until March when I went down to the police station and tried to file a complaint and was told to leave by Howard. But he told me the name of the other officer was Fleming.
Okay. All right, and then can you describe the incident?
Starting from when I made the call, or from when I'm going to start from when I made the call. And if you watched, did you watch the YouTube video? Because it's going to go over everything I'm just about to say.
No, I want to put this in your words. Like,
Okay.
This is your complaint, so
Okay.
I don't want to write for you. I want you to tell me specifically what your complaint is,
Okay.
so that I can capture it in your words.
Okay. So roughly 9 a.m. that morning, on the 5th, I was out in the back and was approached by the neighbor from unit number 1, covered in blood, head to toe, covered in blood. He's an extremely overweight guy, probably weighs close to 300 pounds, shaved head, and there wasn't a piece of skin on his body that wasn't covered in wet, dripping blood. He walked right up to me. He knew I was out there because I was rattling I was getting ready to spray, and I've been rattling the can for a good 5 minutes, getting the can ready to spray. He knew right where I was. He walked right to me. It wasn't a coincidence. He walked right at me. And he just stared at me. He is out of breath and crying. I don't see any visual injuries on him other than just blood all over him, all over his clothes, all over his body, all over his face. And he just stares at me. And after about a full minute, which felt like 10 minutes, but probably about 60 seconds, he says, "Happy New Year" to me. And because he's half crying, in a weird, creepy voice, he says, "Happy New Year" to me. And then walks away from me over towards the center of the parking lot. Paced back and forth, walked back to me, and did the exact same thing. 3 feet in front of my face, standing there crying and out of breath, said "Happy New Year" to me again. I grabbed my phone because I was playing music. I was outside working on something. I had music playing. And I started to scroll through to get to the phone part so I could call the police. And he looks at me and says, "Oh, did you want to take a picture of me? Or film me or whatever?" I said, "No, I'm calling the police." So he walked away from me, and that's when I made the 911 call to dispatch and told him what was going on. So I went out front.
The neighbor made the 911 call.
I made the 911 call.
Oh, okay.
Because he's covered in blood. He's either, something just happened. Because of the history of this person that was here, I assumed that he had just killed his family. That's what was flashing in front of me. I thought that he just murdered his family and walked outside. He's crying and out of breath, and I don't see any injuries. What else was I supposed to think? So I try to call 911. Dispatcher tells me, "Oh, they've been there for a while. That he's not answering the door." So I said, "Well, where are they? I'll show them what he just walked up on me. He's right. He just walked away from me 5 seconds ago." So they said they're out front. So I walk around out to the front of the building. I see Howard and another officer walking away. They're almost all the way down to the end of the court walking away, which is a good 60 yards away from me. I kind of half jogged towards him. He turned around and noticed me, and I'm assuming he must have got the call right around that same time from dispatch saying that I was calling. And I kind of waved for him to come back. He came back. I said, he just walked up on me. He's out in the back. He said, "Where's he at?" I pointed out to him where to go and everything. And then I got out of the way. I just left. Once they I showed the two officers where he was at. I left and got out. I went back out into the back of the parking lot, which is a good 60 yards away, and made no more contact with the officers or the scene at all. I didn't know if he had a gun or what. I didn't know what was going on. I just got out of there. And I was actually on the phone with my daughter almost the entire time. Actually, I was. The entire time I walked away from the police, I called my daughter and told her what was going on, and stayed on the phone until I approached the police officers, probably a half hour, 40 minutes later, because through the two buildings I could see a number of officers walking away from the front of the building, and I assumed that it was over. It had been quite a while. I assumed everything was done. So I told my daughter I'm going to walk out front and see if I can find out if they're, I thought the family was injured. I went up to see if everything was okay. In between the two apartment buildings, there's a common walkway with a gate. I stopped at the gate. This is why I want the body cameras, because it's going to show everything. And there's no dispute what was said and what wasn't said. The incompetent cops are trying to say I went out yelling and screaming, demanding answers. I didn't do that. And it pisses me off, it insults me that they say that. And every time I talk to this officer, that's why it bothers me that you didn't do your homework and watch the video before. So you would already know what was about to be said. And you wouldn't be making any
insinuations. Can I just tell you what my function is?
I understand. I understand now. You've already made that. You've made that clear. No, I understand. I don't mean to cut you off, but I understand what you said. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just saying, the other officers that I spoke with trying to make the complaint, they right away said, "Oh, I was told you were yelling and screaming and causing a scene," and they didn't watch the body cameras either. So it bothers me that they didn't do their homework. So I won't. And you've already explained what we're doing now, so I won't say that again to you. I'm just saying it bothers me that people aren't doing their homework before they call. So when I got to the center, to where that gate is, and I saw a number of officers and medical people out on the grass and everything, so I didn't want to go any farther. I stopped right at the gate, and there was at least 3 officers in the walkway leading away from me towards the front door of number 1, and the closest one to me was about 5 feet away. And I just kind of looked over and I said, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" Exactly like that. "Can I ask you a question?" And he turned and said, "Yeah." And he took a couple steps towards me, and I said, "Is everything?" I think I said, "Is everybody okay?" or "What happened?" or something like that. Just something to that effect. I just asked if everyone was okay. And he said, "Are you a neighbor or a family member?" And I said, "I'm a neighbor. I live, right behind." And he went from 0 to 100 and just flipped out on me and got right in my face, inches from my face, walked right up onto me. I assumed he thought I was going to back up, but I didn't. So he almost made contact because he walked up on me so hard. But he stopped within an inch or so of my face, screaming at me to get the fuck out of here, or he was going to cuff me and take me to jail. I didn't do anything other than just ask a question, and I even asked if I could ask the question. I didn't come out screaming or demanding anything. So I stood my ground. I told him, "You back up. I didn't do anything. You walked up on me. You back the fuck up. I'm not moving." So he started screaming, threatened to take me to jail and everything. So I took my phone out and I started videotaping. As soon as I took my phone out and turned on the recorder, I asked him, "What's your ID number and your name?" He immediately put his hand over his name tag and turned and walked away. So he went from threatening to cuff me and take my fucking ass to jail to putting his hand over his name tag and walking away and trying to blend in with the crowd. So I said, "No, I'm not okay with that." So I stayed right where I was at on that walkway, and I kept filming. And then I had a couple of people tell me to stop filming. I said, "Fuck you, no. Now I'm going to make a complaint." He just rushed up at me. "I'm filming now. You're not going to tell me not to." So it went on for a few more minutes, and they finally got the neighbor out of the house, and he was covered in blood and fighting them and trying to resist and all this other stuff, and they're treating him like he's a king when they should have just cuffed him and taken him out. After they got him to the stretcher and got him halfway into the ambulance, I went around to the other side still filming, and Howard walked up to me and I said, "I want that officer," and I pointed to the guy that had approached me first, that attacked me first. I said, "I need to know his name and badge number." And he said, "Well, what happened? What happened?" And I said, "You guys just saw him. He just attacked me for no reason." I said, "I want to make a complaint about that officer right there. He just tried to arrest me for 0 reason." And he said, during that conversation, I turned off my phone. I stopped recording, which was a huge mistake. Hoyt and Jeffries, or Fleming, I'm sorry, whatever his name is, Fleming and Hoyt, were both standing about 10 feet on each side of me and saw me put my phone down. while I was talking to Howard. Howard said, "Can we talk about it when we wrap this up? Let me just finish with what's going on, and we'll talk." And I said, "Yeah, go ahead." And I clearly say there was something serious going on. I didn't want to cause any more of a scene or add to it. So I said, "Yeah." As soon as Howard walked away, Hoyt rushed up on me, did the exact same thing, inches from my face, screaming and literally spitting on me as he's screaming, telling me to get the fuck back. And as soon as he did that, Fleming, the cop that started the whole thing, came at me from the other side. And now they have me sandwiched in between them, both screaming at me, telling me to get the fuck back. And I mean, I don't remember word for word, but they're basically screaming repeatedly to get the fuck back. And I just stood there and I said, "No, you walked up on me. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm on the sidewalk. I'm not moving. You back the fuck up." So after it went on for about a minute or so, they finally gave up, realizing that I wasn't going to move, that they were going to actually have to make they were trying to get me to make contact. So they could say that I made initial contact, and then they could tase me or take me down or whatever they wanted to do and arrest me and take me to jail. I didn't budge an inch. And if I would have backed up like they were trying to make me do, because they had me sandwiched, I would have there was no way for me to back up. They were each on each side of me. I could not have even moved without making contact. That's why I just said, "No, you back up. You walked up on me."
Okay. All right. So I've jotted down what I heard. Would you like to sign this, or because it's a form and it's like intended to be filled out by the complainant, but I filled it out because I think you prefer to do it by phone.
Yeah.
Did you want me to put?
Are you at the town hall
I
in
filled
Los
this
Gatos?
out for you, or would you like to come in and sign it?
Are you at the town hall office? Is that where you're located at?
Yeah.
Is that where that? So I've lived here for years, so I'm not positive where it's actually at. Is that behind that grass field by the bike shop?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
And
I know generally where you're at.
Like it's a complex, and then the city clerk and town attorney area is at the entrance to the left.
I think I know because it's
building on the left.
Unknowingly part of my bike route. I come down and around, and I go back around that back road, and then come back out, and then all the way around again. So I kind of know where it's at. So yeah, I'm fine with coming down there and signing that if that's what's necessary.
Okay.
Is tomorrow okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow's good. I'll put it with an envelope on your name, with your name on it, and then you can sign it. Or I mean, feel free to edit it as well. So that's one, and then.
So actually, there's actually kind of a third complaint, because the other complaint is about the whole process.
Okay.
And everybody in the process of me trying to make that complaint has flat out. Well, Robert Schultz, in his email, told me he informed the town hall, the city manager, and the mayor not to speak with me. That's a violation of my civil rights. I'm trying to make a complaint, and he has called everybody and informed everybody to not even have communication with me. And he, being the town attorney, will not even accept the complaint. So who am I supposed to make the complaint to? So I've already contacted the district attorney, and they really haven't got back, but I did contact the attorney general, and they got back to me. They say if I exhaust all efforts to make this complaint, and it's not handled correctly, then they will take over for me.
Okay. Well, let's do them in order. So, March 17th.
Okay.
So, that's the bicycle. So,
yeah.
Is the location University at the plaza?
So, it's another funny thing. I should know the street names, but I don't. So it's the park right now, right by the post office there. It's like the last intersection if you were going on to 17 towards the beach. You know that little park right there by the post office? Mm-hmm. That intersection right there is where it started at. But going the opposite direction, like going towards Campbell. I just finished my bike route. I was getting ready to go back down. I stop at that park right there and rest, and then I go back down. So the cameras that are on that intersection might possibly show the entire thing.
Okay.
I know they
showed. What's the approximate time of that?
That would have been, and I'm approximating. You guys actually have the 911 call immediately after, but it's roughly around 4 o'clock, somewhere in that general area. But I called
4 p.m.
Yeah,
4 p.m.
somewhere in there. But there's a 911 call, so it will show literally seconds after it happened. I called.
All right. And the involved officers, let's see. I think I just have Officer Howard, is that correct?
So he's the one I tried to make the complaint to. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was on that same day that I was trying to make the complaint of what we just spoke about.
Okay.
I was actually there for
And
another.
then,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
are there any witnesses?
There is one witness, and multiple street cameras that will show the whole thing from beginning to end. And I asked Howard, this is part of the complaint, because I asked him, and I specifically asked, is there cameras on that intersection of where it started? And he flat out said no. I have that on recording. He flat out said no, there's no cameras there. He said, I've been an officer here for years, there's no cameras there. So I went the next day and I see there's a camera on every single light post. There's 4 of them. Not only that, but I told him that I myself had went up and down that street into almost every single store on both sides of the street looking for outdoor cameras, and spoke with a number of the shops. And there's 2 of them, one being specifically Mike's Bikes, that has a camera that sits up high and it points at the whole street. You could see that camera will actually probably show where the Porsche went around me into oncoming traffic, probably going 40s plus miles an hour to get around me, to go up ahead of me and wait for me. He got out of his car and waited for me, but he had to go around me, so he went fully into oncoming traffic in his black Porsche, at least 40 miles an hour, and that has to be on the Mike's Bikes camera. And I told Howard that's where there's camera footage there, and he has never gotten back to me, never responded, never. I called him. Oh, I'm sorry. I called him back and I told him about the street cameras. I said, I informed him that there are street cameras, and he said, well, then I'll get those for you. And I said, well, can you get the Mike's Bikes cameras too? Because I've called myself like 3 times, and I didn't want to become a pest. They were being extremely nice, but they were obviously busy, and this wasn't a main priority to them. I asked him, if he could, himself or send another officer over there to collect that video. He's never done anything. He never got the CCTV camera from the intersection by the park, and he never went to Mike's Bikes or anything. And I also told him that I had forgotten when I initially made the complaint that there was a passenger in the car, and she didn't seem specifically proud of her boyfriend or husband that was doing that day. He was acting like an idiot. He was trying to run me down up the full length of that street, trying to run me over back and forth, screaming at me, there's gonna, all this whatever. So I told Howard that there was a person in the car and there was a witness. You should talk to her. And his response is, well, I can't make her talk. I said, yeah, but you can interview her and ask her. I don't think he did anything. Why are we paying that guy? Seriously, why is that guy being paid? I called him a couple times asking him, an update. He doesn't even respond. Most useless person I've ever seen in my life. Absolutely useless. Did his job for him, and he still couldn't do it.
Okay. And then the most recent one, is it a complaint against a police officer, or is it against the town attorney?
So you mean the complaint about the process of trying to make the complaint about January 5th? That's against the whole town hall, mayor, city man. That will be a lawsuit, and I can subpoena that body cam. So if it's going to resort to that, that's what I've already found I can do. I will just subpoena the body camera footage in court, and you guys can't deny that. Then
what we're focused on today are complaints against the police department. So right now I have the one.
And we've already spoke about
the
those.
bike incident and the Weldwood Court incident.
Yes.
Okay. And
then the
I'll put
complaint
both
about
of these up at the front counter for you to review, and feel free to edit them, and then if you don't have edits, you can sign them.
Okay, what is the reason that the city manager isn't responding to a phone call about a complaint about... So if I'm complaining about the town attorney who's refusing... Not you, Robert Schultz. I'm not speaking about you, I'm sorry. If I'm making a complaint or trying to make a complaint about Robert Schultz, I was told to call the city manager. What is his problem with returning a phone call? Called him at least twice, I think 3 times actually. Called him, just left a voicemail, can you please call me back? Gave him the number and the name. He refused to call me back, and did the same for the mayor. What is The unresponse is amazing to me, that they don't. So do you have so many complaints about your police department that this is just at the bottom of the list, or that you just don't care, or you're going to cover it up blindly? Because every turn I've spoken to a person trying to make this complaint, and they've already known about it before we spoke, didn't review the body camera footage. It's amazing to me. So you're either lying that you didn't watch the body camera footage, and you know for a fact that your officers acted unprofessional and abused their power, or you're just not doing your job. Why wouldn't you do your homework and watch that body camera footage so you can have your own opinion, and already have your opinion of what the truth? Because the camera doesn't lie. You can't go by feelings or anything. Watching the video is going to say exactly what happened. Exactly what happened.
It's a sequential process. So the first step is to file a complaint. And
6 months later.
That is the first step. That initiates it, right? And so
but
that's what we're doing
we're
right
6
now.
months into it now. We're 6 months into it. So now you're saying now that we're getting started? I appreciate that you've just got... I'm not holding all that against you. I realize you just stepped into office, and I'm not putting all that on you. But now you're in office, so it's time to handle this, because unless you have many
let's go
police...
step by step. So I'm going to put these at the front counter in an envelope with your name on them, and then you can review them and edit them, and then
I'm going to sign it right there.
You can sign them.
Yeah, there's no reason to edit. I'm recording this, and I said exactly what happened. I'm going to sign it right there on the spot and hand it right back to you.
Okay. All righty. All right, so the next step is for you to come in and take a look at these, and I'll put them up front for you.
Okay, and then what's the step after that?
So then I take a look at them, and I decide whether there's like 4 categories. You can look at the process on the website, but there's like 4 categories. Like, does it get referred to the person's supervisor? Does it go to an outside investigator? And then there's a couple of other options. But first I want to make sure the complaint's in final form.
Okay, so I understand. So you yourself are going to review the phone call that we just made?
Right.
Okay. All right, I'll be down there tomorrow, sign the papers, and we'll go from there. So
when
will you get back to me? What is the time frame?
I'd like to get back to you by Friday, because I'm not going to be in the office for the next 2 weeks, so I'd like to have it wrapped up by Friday.
Okay, and who will be stepping in for you on those 2 weeks when you're on your vacation?
There's no town attorney during that time.
Okay, yeah, so I would appreciate it if you would get back to me by Friday.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Thank you.
All right.